please log on to his courses. Marcos Allende Lopez has a very important role to play. Oh, there you are, Marcos. I was just presenting to you. He has a very important role to play in the Inter-American Development Bank. He's been developing a blockchain with LACNIC. It's called LACchain. Is that right? Marcos's CV is on the webpage, and he's been kind enough to give us a little bit of time on his very busy agenda. We have students with us in the room today and another 100 who are following us online, not only from Latin America, but also from Kenya, Tanzania, Asia, Italy. So the fact that this is a hybrid event and that there is interpretation means that we can expand our horizons. Sorry about the changes to timetable. That is one of the problems of the hybrid setup. So thank you for being flexible. Over to you. Welcome. Thank you very much. It really is a pleasure. As you say, hybrid world has its advantages too, because even though I wasn't able to travel to join you at this lovely event, I do have the opportunity to share with you in remote fashion, which is great. So, hello to everybody. I'm sure that you are finding this all to be very interesting, and I hope that what I have to say will give you some value. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I do have a presentation. Just confirm we have half an hour, is that right? If you do need more time, that's fine. I think it's your limits, right? That your timing, that is an issue. I think we can cover everything in half an hour. And obviously, if there are any questions afterwards, I'd be delighted to answer them. So from my end, as I was saying, I am Marcos Allende. I work in the Inter-American Development Bank. Been there since 2017, when I started to head up the blockchain area, which they were working on then. From the technology department, my job is to support experts from different operational areas such as education, health, transport, labor market, energy, and so forth, and to bring them into blockchain-related technologies such as sovereignty, tokenization, in smart data, and so forth. And I've been working to incorporate them into the projects. We currently have 20 of those which are using blockchain. And then in 2018, after using different blockchain networks for these projects, we were using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoins, Ethereum, and what we came to the understanding that most of these have a lot of limitations and they weren't scalable. The crypto networks had high transactional costs and did not offer sufficient support guarantees or sufficient sustainability or options for collaboration. So we decided to create our own program to build a blockchain ecosystem in the region and create a blockchain network which was able to offer the right kind of infrastructure or the right kind of blockchain registration for the projects underway in the region, both those financed by the BID and the IDB and those that aren't. Today, we're looking at the fact that this is the most widely used blockchain in the world is LACchain. There are over 100 different entities using it and 60 projects underway. So without further ado, I will going to share my presentation and tell you a little bit more about this. Okay. I put my presentation in English because I didn't know if there was going to be translation. So I'm speaking in Spanish, but the slides are in English. In addition to telling you about blockchain and the different projects that we're running, I would like to start by telling you about our vision for what's coming in terms of the new generation of internet platforms and applications. We've been talking about internet a lot in the last few years, but now I want to talk about our vision in terms of the future. The first thing I wanted to share with you is this slide where we can see that we are embarking upon a new age which contains new assets, new wallets, they're digital. We can see that people are beginning to develop different projects in Uruguay and Argentina. We're working on things for the private sector, and NFTs have absolutely taken off. This was a market that started off with 300 million, and it's gone to 5 billion, as you can see there. In the city of Buenos Aires, they announced that they were going to use blockchain for digital education. The European Union is working to create a laboratory on digital identity. We've built networks for COVID certifications, which are using blockchain technology. RNP in Brazil is also using blockchain. Being major companies like Feedback and Google, Ethernet, and others are making efforts to incorporate blockchain to different aspects. Obviously, we've seen a lot of work there by the metaverse. So we're seeing a trend in terms of how digital transactions are developing. Right. Now, when we talk about digital assets, what do we mean? In our vision of this new generation of tools, which we're calling Apple III, which we'll talk about in a little while, this new generation of applications and platforms is a new element which changes the way in which we interact with internet and indeed with each other. And this is the digital wallet. They're called digital wallets, but actually they're repositories of information and mobile apps which enable us to control all the data and information which we manage digitally, and enables us to produce a series of credentials within that wallet which enable us to universally present all kinds of credentials, whether these are for education or transport, for health, corporate cards, and so on and so forth. And we can present these anywhere, in any part of the world. If you think about it, anybody who has had to go through the tedious process of getting a university degree or some credential or get your passport renewed, it's really quite tedious and drawn out. Whether you need to get diplomas, anything that requires an aspect of testifying to different achievements. Now, the fact that they can have digital format and comply with a number of different standards, that means that they can be used at global level, is fantastic. There is a World Wide Web consortium which has created this verifiable credential system, and it means that this new set of credentials share similarities in semantic terms, and it means that they can be presented and verified in any part of the world. Then we'll be looking at some of the projects that we're doing in the region. The main advantage of using blockchain is that although the credential is in our wallet, we can present it to anybody, and that person can check that the emitter of that wallet, whether it's a university or an authorized medical center, they can check with them to make sure that this is genuine and authentic. We check whether the emitter is authentic, and we look at the lists. There is also a new generation of ownership tokens. These are security tokens. The idea is that everything that you buy or rent, and if you want to sell it in a secondary market, will also have digital representation, like cars or electrodomestics or even clothes, physical or virtual, because in the metaverse we're talking about digital clothes as well. There are already many versions floating around for bonds, and the idea is that all of this is represented by a token. You keep it in your digital wallet. It's part of a blockchain, and when you want to transfer the ownership of, say, a car or an apartment, which is currently an extremely tedious process, and then there's always this business, you're going to pay me before or after I sign the writ. All of that is simplified by blockchain, and payment systems are also represented by blockchains. Payment versus delivery, everything happens in real time and using a smart contract, which enables us to get over any form of inefficiency or the problems, or even problems with falsification. We're also coming up with utility tokens. Now, security tokens represent a value. Utility tokens have a concrete value in a specific environment. For instance, digital coupons, like miles, like air miles from an airline. Those are utility tokens because you can only use them with that specific airline. But imagine if there were multinational airlines, or even if the airlines themselves created these tokens, these air miles in the form of tokens. So like, you could have an international supermarket. You could buy $20 of credit from a US supermarket, and actually you could send them to somebody else so that they could be used in a supermarket in another country. And then you avoid the entirely tedious process that we know all too well in Argentina of getting remittances from people in another country. You have to go and pick it up, and you exchange that for goods. Now, if you could have a tokenized asset from the same entity, like an international supermarket or an international airline, that would overcome many inefficiencies which we currently face. And there will also be a new generation of digital money. The financial markets are changing. Ben for International Servant, which is the central bank of central banks, was saying that 1 in 10 of central banks are considering producing tokens for the central banks, and this is something they're looking at the short term. Now, cryptocurrencies were tokenized monies, and this is going to be taken on board by central banks and also to be used by fintechs and commercial banks, which will fill out this new generation of crypto assets, which, as I said, will be filling our digital wallets. Tokens live in blockchains. We have credentials, verifiable credentials, which you can keep in digital wallets as well, and they can also be checked. You've probably seen this image, which tells us a little bit about how the web developed. Web version 1, that was that first generation of applications, basic web pages where you could look things up. And then we invented HTML for IBM, and that opened the door, enabled us to start looking at interoperability between different websites. There was this global network of computers that were connected. Then there was web version 2, which was more about the exchange of information. And platforms started to benefit from data consumption and offer different kinds of customized services for different business models. And these are the kinds of applications that we were working on until the appearance of Web 3. This is an entirely new concept of web. It's a semantic web. You can individualize content and use blockchain for verifiability and interaction, particularly to check information. And then, of course, business about digital wallets. For me, Web3 is a combination of AI, digital wallets, and blockchain so that we can exchange information and check it in real time. Digital wallets also play a key role for enabling us to authenticate our identity on websites. At the moment, we have to remember all these different kinds of website of passwords and usernames, or we'll use a passmaster. But when you have a digital wallet, you can simply scan a QR and quickly access the web page. And all that identity information that we use is firmly kept in our wallet. So, following this short introduction of our vision, I want to tell you a little bit more about LACchain and how it's about a global alliance to take advantage of the Web3. We started this in 2018, 2019. The IADB is working on blockchain in the region. And about a year ago, the BID Lab started working with LACNIC and the Clara network, which are well known here. In fact, Oscar Robles and the president of Red Clara have been speakers at the forum. And what we've done is build an independent vehicle, which is LACNet, Latin America. It stands for Latin American and Caribbean and chain. And then Red is because of network. We've created LACNet as well. LACNet.lacchain.net, and there you will find all the information about the vehicle we've built to offer the LACchain infrastructure to the region. And it has all the information and open source, open code information that you need. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about LACchain in terms of numbers. We have over 750 different entities in the ecosystem and over 60 projects, non-crypto projects, as I said. We have removed the cryptocurrencies from the blockchain, so that all the projects that we're working with, mostly editing, border, entity, transparency of public procurement, all of these are some of the projects that we're working in this 60. We have 4 blockchain networks, and we also have a couple of other networks for streaming projects. And we're working on a new bond for the blockchain, which we're launching with the Central Bank of Colombia. And more than 40 of these 60 projects have some sort of social impact. They're about inclusion. Currently, we have nearly 200, not 94, nodes deployed on the network. Each entity that joins develops its own node. And we've got some 200 nodes operated by over 100 different entities, governments, enterprises, private sector, banks, academia, multilateral organizations. The IADB is also using it. So this is a snapshot of the regional network, HESNet, which is the one where we have the most entities. We have 93 organizations. You can see this large blob here on the east coast of the United States. As you know, when you use cloud servers, we use the east coast of the US. There are lots of entities in the US, in the Latin America, which are using US-based services such as Google or Amazon. We have a lot of entities also operating independently of these. Now, what are the main features of this network? It's a layer 1 for Web3. It's a specialized network in enterprise solutions. There are no transactional costs, merely membership costs, which tend to eliminate costs. The idea is to focus on major impact projects. Before, in Ethereum, you had to pay $5 or $10 every time you registered information in blockchain, but Bitcoin was very similar. So obviously, it was inviable for the public sector to do this. But with blockchain, there are no transaction costs. So this aspect disappears. Everything we do is open source code. There's a layer 1 technology and tools for developers. The technical features is a hyperlayer vessel. It's specialized in permissioned networks with a protocol that we've complemented. Our network has been internationally recognized by different entities. ITU, which is the Telecommunications Union, a UN organization, has recognized our infrastructure as one of the top 14 architectures. There it is in red. And ISO, which is the standardization organization, has also recognized several aspects of what we do, digital identity, and the framework of the network, taxonomy, and governance. More recently, we've also been recognized by the another organization, and we've been working together in the blockchain world. We've also received recognition from ETSI and several multilateral organizations. If you want to know more about what we're doing with blockchain, here are a number of different publications that we recommend that you can find on our webpage, the IADB webpage. Check out the ones that you find most interesting. And now I want to tell you about some specific projects. We've issued the first blockchain digital bonds in Spain and in Colombia. Now, what advantages do these offer? Well, today, when someone issues a bond or any kind of security, you have to register this in the blockchain in the central securities deposit in the relevant jurisdiction. So each sales purchase of a bond on the primary or secondary market requires the exchange to be updated, and then the exchange of payment of or about for the bond or security has to be registered too. It's something that takes a long time, involves manual processes, and can often get stalled, which means that very often you'll find that the money is not available, the payment hasn't been registered. So the idea is to turn this into 2 tokens, which enable you to do this in real time using a QR code, thus saving huge amounts of time and overcoming all the traditional inefficiencies in the post-trade world. In terms of traceability, it's extremely useful. We've been seeing some very interesting projects in Peru with alpaca and sugar in Belize. The problem was that consumers couldn't verify anything about the origin and the quality of the product. So now blockchain is storing all the information on the product from producer to sales, including transport. All of that goes into the blockchain. I'm not saying that you might not upload false information or false data. The information can also be manipulated in order to upload false information. The thing is that when an audit uncovers this fact, then those who took part in registering the false information lose their credibility and are regarded as not trustworthy. So there you have track records. Those who are known for telling the truth because this allows you to create your reputation and build it up. Talking of reputation and trust, something that I think is very important are the COVID certificates. We've all seen how eventually the COVID certificates have problems with international recognition. For instance, in the United States, I live in Panama. I'm Spanish, so my certificate isn't recognized in Panama and it's not recognized in Spain because I got it in the United States and it's just actually a piece of paper. So some countries in Latin America and Europe are already using QR codes, but it's not a universal thing. The use of blockchain enables these to be universal because when you scan a QR to check a vaccine or an ID or an educational document, what you really are checking are 3 or 4 things. The first, that this certificate was never modified. You can check that very easily with the QR code because it has a cryptographic and a digital signature, which means that you can check straight away it hasn't been modified. Then you have to see check that the person who's presenting is actually the person that this is about. You have to check that it's the right person. But there are 2 things that blockchain is particularly useful for. It means that whoever issued the diploma is authorized, like an authorized university or an authorized vaccination authority. That list of authorities is not available anyway, but blockchain enables each country to list these public authorities on blockchain, and which means that they can be checked. And then if there's any ID or any certificates that have been refused for any reason, then you can check that too with blockchain, so that somebody scans the QR, and when they check it, they will find that in fact this certificate has, for instance, it's no longer valid. So we're doing this with a number of countries in the area of education, and we're doing this as well with vaccination certificates and all kinds of other digital certificates. Talking about education, in regional area, we're working with Red Clara, and in the Caribbean, we're talking about CXC block certs, which enables digital diplomas for secondary school certs onwards. And then with the University of West Indies, which is one of the most important universities in the West Indies, the Chain project, Cadena project, enables real-time information exchange in the region, uses blockchain. And then with cross-border payments, we've enabled a program for border points so that they can work with e-money. And so far, these are the projects. Now, perhaps if you have any question, I just wanted to go into the quantum threat very quickly. As we look at the new era of applications and Kubernetes and Web3, it's very important to understand that there is a threat out there. The concept of quantum computing. This means that you can break internet cryptography and communications in a highly efficient way. The cryptography we use today is based on algorithms like RSA, which is based on the difficulty of matching numbers, or algorithms like elliptical curves or discrete algorithms. All of these algorithms allow two-step authentication. So for encryption and digital signatures, we use one of the 2 keys, and you can't find out with the others because you're dealing with classic computational abilities. Now, in 2016, they started building powerful quantum computers able to break many of the public key cryptosystems, which means that they could uncover your digital signature, or if you see an encrypted network communication, they could break that. Or if you could see a public blockchain, you could find out who it actually belonged to, with all of the implications that has. this year that NIST announced the first 4 quantum-resistant cryptographic algorithms certified. It's called post-quantum cryptography. What we've done a couple of years ago was to start working on this. We've been following the process with NIST, and we were looking at the algorithms that were progressing, and we used one of the 4 that they were using to develop a cryptography layer over our blockchain, which would enable it to withstand quantum computing attacks. You can look at the publication if you wish. It's on our webpage for any of those who are interested in the scientific aspect. I think we're coming up to time here. Here are all kinds of links about different aspects that I've touched on. And once again, thank you very much for inviting me to talk to you today and give me the opportunity to share the information about what we're doing.
Very interesting. I have like 50 questions. Are there any questions in the room? Do you have a few minutes left to take the questions? My name is Martin. I come from Brazil. I'm like a layman. Probably it's going to be a dumb question, but I would like to ask it anyway. The purpose of blockchain is to decentralize. However, how do you ensure, given the predominance of these corporations that produce this kind of technology? I haven't shown this slide, but it tells what the blockchains are. Blockchain is a technology. When you want to use blockchain, you need to define what blockchain you're going to be using. There's one internet. When you have to use blockchain, you have like 10,000 blockchain networks to connect to. So to select the right network, to rest assured that it's neutral and that it has a transactional trunk that is addressable, that it meets regulations accordingly, and it guarantees the technological quality, so we comply with the low transactional cost neutrality that is offered by the guarantee to use this kind of technology. Some other networks offer other benefits, but not guarantees, probably. Now, when you're going to mount or platforms or apps on blockchain, there are some that decentralized things, like for example OpenSea. OpenSea is NFT's platform because it's a platform that is totally centralized, that is mounted on top of blockchain networks and where people can trade. So all these decentralized platform, is this transparent? Yes, at first it is. Since it is decentralized, I could manipulate the information that is being sent or received by blockchain when you query. So it's very important that when Web3 starts with a new generation, decentralized over decentralized blockchain networks, when you use that platform, you are going to be wondering if you rely on that platform or not. Believe it or not, it's not that the application that is interfacing or the one that is over blockchain is not going to guarantee trust, reliability, or transparency. My name is Marisa Espinosa and I come from Colombia. In connection with one of the initiatives that you propose is that you use cross-border payment. Does this apply to payment orders or any files? For example, when you do trading at the international level, in the case of shipping orders, payment orders, you have a payment order where you don't disburse the money to the seller until the merchandise arrives or is being shipped. The payment orders will be applicable for this methodology or it's not included. In the case of the payment orders, this was a pilot project that started a year ago with a specific purpose, and that was the IDB disbursements. The IDB makes more than 13,000 payments to suppliers or vendors. Each payment goes through intermediaries, intermediary banks with low and higher rates depending on the intermediary banks or their receiving payment terminal. From the IDB, we deposit our next amount of money in Citibank. So we create a token over blockchain, and on this token, we give it to suppliers. We tried some of them in the Dominican Republic. They had to reconvert tokens into local currency, and in practical terms or technologically wise, it worked. But to operate with this at the regional level and to have adoption, you need to have financial institutions that come on board that if you want to make payments with a token from Colombia to Argentina, you have an intermediary bank in Colombia that can have a token action over the assets. So you can wire the money from Colombia and send it through blockchain in real time to somebody or receiving party in Argentina. Once the tokens are received, they continue paying that within Argentina domestically or taken to the fiduciary system and to take it into currency. So you need the whole banking network to be on top of this or to come on board. Given the steps made by central banks, probably we're going to have this set of solutions or preliminary solutions that allow you to do this. And when it comes to make payments, this would be many of the applications where you can use this new generation of tokens that would be carrying or wiring money. My name is Luis Martins from the Dominican Republic. In the academic world, you were saying that there are many open projects. Could you tell us about what the channel is where we can reach these people, collaborate, and use this platform for doing research in the academic world? How can we contact you? We have a diploma project declare, so you can join forces in the academic world and you can join efforts here. You can contact me directly by email, marcos@idb.org, and you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that we'll be in contact, and probably we can join forces and add you to the effort. My name is Luciana. I come from Buenos Aires. I have two questions on blockchain. One is, how can I guarantee sustainability because you didn't have any footprint emissions? And how do you work with membership? How do you operate membership? And how do you apply the membership fees? In connection with sustainability, from the environmental point of view, there are blockchain networks that contaminate or that produce a lot of CO2 because they use consensus that is proof of work that requires a lot of computing capacity to create those blocks. In that network, we have proof of authority. So this protocol takes turns to produce a block. So we don't compete in terms of energy, and it's not offset with cryptocurrency. You do not issue the energy wise, so it consumes less energy. That's why we are environmentally sustainable. In the case of memberships, you can refer to the website idb.net, and you will have the information on the membership plan. There are three. One that is basic, one that is standard, what is a standard, one is premium, depending on the registrations per second of blockchain and how many levels of support you have. You're going to subscribe to one package or the other, or you can upload the number of transactions as you're authorized in your membership package. My name is Karina from Bolivia. Probably my question is generic, but it may be complex. Web 3.0 and blockchain speaks of the Internet of Value, where we are going to change or make changes in identity. Is it going to be the right time that credit and debit cards would work or interoperate at the international standard? Are you going to have a blockchain at the worldwide level to make it work just like credit cards? Because you were saying the health card with the COVID-19 pandemic. So you could have like Ethereum networks, Bitcoin, or different blockchains to make it work. How do you see this in the future? Are we going to speaking of a standardization or protocol in terms of health? It's great because we have been proposing the Internet of Value since 2018. And what we are discussing right now is what we call World 3. World 3 is the Internet of Value. Now, in connection to how we are going to make this happen, it's very difficult to know how we're going to produce this. What is going to happen is that there's going to be large platforms on top of blockchain. If you had the marketplace of Netflix or Open or others, these are connected not only to a network but to many. So facilitating the choice where you want to deploy the asset, and they're going to offer the platform that will become the interface or the gateway. What we're going to have tomorrow is a digital wallet, an e-wallet, where you're going to have certificates, ID, health, and education, and that could be verified against a different blockchain network. You're going to have 10,000, but there may be more than one. Against the credential could be verifiable, or a token of interest resides in. So you have the e-wallets and the platforms on top of that we're going to use, and that will be connected to blockchain networks. So those that will prevail basically. So until we don't have one blockchain, that is not going to be verifiable, and those will be basically granting and accumulating the value. Thank you, Marcus. Probably you can send us a PowerPoint. I don't know if it's uploaded already or no, I haven't done so, but I'll do that. Thank you, Marcus. Thanks a lot.